This Sports Blitz podcast is brought to you by LMG. Grow your business through logo design, paper products, and video production. Visit leemarketing.net to learn more. Blitz segment of the program, which is brought to you each and every week by E. Dane Sharp, attorney at law, good friend of ours and the program over in Dadeville, Alabama. You make sure to call on Dane, 825-4631. We've got our good friend Andy Graham on the phone. And Andy, can you weed through this baseball standings and who is going to make the SEC tournament following last weekend and running into this last weekend here coming up?
Yeah, I'll do the best I can. It gets a little convoluted, but the bottom line is Missouri is out. Missouri is one of the teams that is not going to make it. 6-21, they have been eliminated. Auburn's 10-17 in 13th place. They're outside looking in at the moment. There are 6 teams, including Auburn, that are within 3 games of each other. Arkansas is at 13-14. Texas A&M is at 13-14. Kentucky 12-15. Tennessee 11-16. Georgia 10-16. Auburn at 10-17. Auburn holds the tiebreaker over Arkansas, Texas A&M, and Tennessee. That's good. Tennessee's a game ahead of them, and they play Florida this weekend. Now, Florida, obviously the number 1 team in the SEC, 19-8. So the chances that Tennessee gets swept are pretty good. The chances that they lose 2 or 3 are very good. Now, the bad news is Auburn plays LSU. LSU's number 10 in the country. They're only 14-11 in the league, but they're 36-14 overall. So Auburn has got to win 2 or 3 if they have any chance to make the SEC tournament. Georgia plays Kentucky, so that's kind of a toss-up. If Georgia gets swept, if Tennessee gets swept, Auburn would just really have to win 1 game against LSU to get in the tournament. Now, will they do that? I don't know. They had such an absolute gut-wrenching loss last weekend in Lexington. They won 8-1 on Friday, on Saturday, and then came back on Sunday. Had a 5-run lead, and Keegan Thompson takes a line drive off his ankle and can't really go after that. And the bullpen, gives up the 5 runs. They end up tying it, go 10 innings, and lose 6-5. And it was just kind of heartbreaking because if they would have taken 2 or 3, they would have held the tiebreaker over Kentucky, and they would have been tied with Kentucky or 1 game behind at least. So they would have been in even better shape than they are now. So Auburn's got really an uphill climb. Chances are not good that they're going to make the SEC tournament, but there is a sliver of light at the end of the tunnel, maybe.
Andy, what are your thoughts on Coach Sonny Galloway? When he first got to Auburn, man, he had everybody fired up, and then there's been some real controversy in the middle of the season, and now it seems like Auburn's kind of fluttering towards the finish line here. What are your thoughts on him? I know it's only season 1, but are you disappointed, or do you feel like he can get this thing turned around?
Well, I'm a little disappointed in this opening season, but and it's the way things have gone. You're right. It has been some tension, throughout the season. Now, it has that feeling, that I could make excuses, or I could throw some platitudes out there, but it really this almost has a feeling that 5 years from now we'll look back on this and think, oh my goodness, I could see that coming. Because I think next year, Galloway, for all of his personal idiosyncrasies, he is a winner, and he is not used to losing. So this season's going to eat away at him over this off season pretty significantly, I would imagine. I would not be surprised if there's a totally new coaching staff besides him. I'm talking about assistants next year, and this has the feeling it had to me that next year things are going to go one of 2 ways. Auburn's either going to get a lot better really quick, or it's going to totally implode next year, and you're going to see him resign or be fired maybe before the season is over. It just kind of has that feel to it. I don't know if he's a great fit at Auburn, but if he wins, 40 games next year, everybody will look past it. I really believe next year things are either going to be really, really a lot better, or things are really just going to blow up.
We've got Andy Graham here with us, our host of Sports Call when we're able to produce that program over here in the Lake Martin area. But, Andy, I'd like to move into softball now, 39-17-1. And when I look at the bracket that Auburn ends up in and will be playing on Friday against North Dakota State, I really like Auburn's setup in this bracket.
Yeah, I think, it's a good bracket for them. They played North Dakota State earlier this year, so they beat them 11-3, 5-inning them. So they have a lot of confidence now. That was early in the season, so you kind of take those kind of things with a grain of salt. I think it does give you some confidence going in, certainly that you have seen this team before and you have beaten them handily. But they've been on quite a tear here. I think they kind of got it together about mid-season, and I think they've won maybe 10 of 12 coming down the stretch or something like that. So they're a good team, 35-16. So it'll be a good test for Auburn. It is double elimination. You got Minnesota, who's a good team at 41-9. You have Wisconsin, Green Bay, who's kind of 27-12. They're the fourth seed in this little bracket. But Auburn, to be honest with you, I believe Auburn should win this bracket. Now, the bad news is that if Auburn comes out of this pool, they're going to have to go to Eugene, Oregon, unless something really strange happens. And Oregon's the number one team in the country, the number one overall seed, and Auburn has played them earlier this year in a tournament and lost 3-0. So they were competitive with Oregon. So that again, probably good news. They have some comfortability there. But, Clint Myers done a fantastic job. The season, you could say Auburn didn't have a great season. They were middling in the SEC, probably middling to bottom of the SEC, but they made the tournament. They're making the NCAA tournament. They're headed, they left this morning to go to Minneapolis to compete. They have competed with everybody in the SEC this year. The SEC got 11 teams into the NCAA tournament. That's more than the Pac-10 and Big Ten combined. So this is, without a doubt, the best conference in the country, and Auburn competed week in and week out with everybody that they played, even beating Alabama, in a game that really didn't count in the standings, but nonetheless, just definitely a very good first season for Clint Myers.
Andy, we appreciate you being on the program with us, and everybody out there can tune in to Andy Graham as our host of Sports Call this Friday, and we appreciate it.
Oh, it's always my pleasure. Y'all have a great show.
See you, Andy.
Again, thanks again to Edane Sharp. 256-825-4631 is how you can get in touch with him.
Yeah. Really quickly, our producer just told us Clint Myers will be on Sports Call tomorrow at 4:30.
Yeah, 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. You make sure to tune that in. If you're looking online on how to pull that in, sportscallauburn.com is the way to find us. More Sports Blitz Live presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and S&S Discount Tire right after this.